God has put you as the stewards over his family to minister it. Happy indeed will you be if he finds you faithful in your stewardship. You are called shepherds. See that you do not act as hirelings, but be true shepherds with your crooks always in your hands. Do not go to sleep, but guard on all sides of the flock committed to you. For if through your carelessness or negligence a wolf carries away one of your sheep, you will surely lose the reward laid up for you with God. Okay, look, this is just the first part of the address. It doesn't seem as relevant. Let's skip to the first quotation. So he introduces this quotation by saying, "For thus it happened to the rich man in the gospel. He was not punished," Luke 16:19. "He was not punished because he had stolen the goods of another, but because he had not used well the things which were his." Quote, "You have seen for a long time the great disorder in the world caused by these crimes. It is so bad in some of your provinces, I am told, and you are so weak in the administration of justice that one can hardly go along the road by day or night without being attacked by robbers, and whether at home." Here I think he's talking about in Europe. Here I think that's a reference to things going on in Europe. I don't actually know who he's quoting.
Get to the relevant part, please.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I'm looking for the.
While you're doing that, when was this sermon he gave?
1095.
Huh.
Yeah, 1095.
What did that follow? What caused him to do this little sermon?
I have addressed this point in the very first video that I made. The Seljuk Turks and their expansion in Central Asia and West Asia, culminating in the Battle of Manzikert.
What caused him to give
I can read it
that
right here.
speech?
It says it right here. I literally have the thing right here. It said, "They have occupied more and more of the lands of those Christians and have overcome them in 7 battles. They have killed and captured many and have destroyed the churches and devastated the empire. If you permit them to continue thus for a while with impurity, and faithful of God will be more widely attacked by them. On this account, I, or rather the Lord, beseech you as Christ's heralds to publish this everywhere and to persuade all the people of whatever rank, foot soldiers and knights, poor and rich, carry aid promptly to the Christians and to destroy the vile race from the lands of our friends. I say this is to those who are present. It meant also for those who are absent. Battle against the pagans shall have immediate remissions of sin. This I grant them through the power of God, which I am invested." So literally, he's talking about how they're being oppressed. They're getting massacred. They're getting murdered. How's that bad? They're getting murdered. So he wants to start a crusade to defend them.
In a large way, what you're going to be so surprised to hear me say is that I definitely agree with a lot of that. Under the Seljuk Turks, Christian pilgrims had a harder time immigrating, going on pilgrimage to the Holy Land.
Were the Seljuk Turks in Jerusalem?
Accounts. Yes, they took Jerusalem in the 1060s. Oh, I'm the one who isn't informed about this. I'm the one who's historically illiterate. Were the Seljuk Turks in Jerusalem? Yes, the Seljuk Turks took Jerusalem.
The Crusaders did not take Jerusalem from the Seljuk Turks.
They did.
No, they did not.
My question is this. What religion did the Seljuk Turks follow?
Oh my God. I have been addressing the point of Muslim essentialization this entire time. What you guys are doing collectively is
what you are doing
essentializing Muslims. You're saying because this group of Muslims did this, Muslims in general are like that. And
no one says that Muslims are like that. You're not going to straw man this.
Nobody said that. Don't put words in people's mouths.
It didn't matter to those people alive at that time that the group was the Seljuk Turks or the Fatimids or the Rashidun or anything. They were Muslims, period. That's how they saw it. Just like how the Muslims saw them all as Christians.
Okay, so if we were at war with
it doesn't.
France,
we don't live that.
We don't live in war with France, and I saw
Completely
all
irrelevant.
Europeans
Completely irrelevant.
as being
completely
European,
irrelevant.
I could just wipe all of them out.
That is
It's not
completely
irrelevant.
irrelevant.
We're trying to
It's an invading
contextualize the
That is,
violence that we're
again, a
talking
straw
about.
man.
You're trying to contextualize it in a modern context. And it
No,
was
I'm trying
not
to contextualize it in a
modern-
materialistic
Oh my God.
context.
No,
And
but
the way
use
you
the
view
materialist
materialism
analysis
is
of
not the
the
same way
time.
that those people then viewed materialism. Your argument is irrelevant.
That doesn't necessarily matter now, does it? Because
Yes, it does.
talking
When we're
about our
talking about whether or not the
interpretation.
Crusades were justified.
I don't believe that it was a good thing to do to wipe out an entire city of people, that being Jerusalem. Now,
Then
I
you
would
wouldn't
like
have liked
to.
any medieval
I would
siege.
like-
You
I
wouldn't
would
have liked
like
any
to-
siege before
No,
pre-modern times at
yeah,
all.
no. I
It
get
doesn't
that.
matter
I
whether or
get
not
that.
you would have liked it,
But
just
did
like
I-
it didn't
did
matter
I-
to them.
did
What
I
you
say
feel, dude?
That the
Stop
Seljuk
trying to
Turks
talk over
were
me.
bad? Okay, I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter how you feel about it. That's completely irrelevant. The question was, were they justified? To these people, absolutely. And again, you're showing your historical illiteracy by the fact that I don't think it was a good thing that they wiped out a city. It doesn't matter whether you thought it was a good thing. No one thought it was a good or a bad thing. That's how medieval warfare was. That's how warfare in antiquity was. If you did not surrender before they put your city to the siege by rights of conquest, regardless of whatever nation you were, they had the right to wipe out your city. Every man, woman, child, and animal inside the city. And it happened time and time again.
Can I speak on something real quick? He does not understand.
He's here. You can address him directly.
No. He does not understand the idea that at the end of the day, what rules us as people, as human beings, as animals, as even creations of God is war. And who is the strongest. And whether or not you take the city that you're besieging, whether or not you're dashed against the rocks on the fucking beach, if you win, you win. That's it. That's all. The Muslims, when they first took Jerusalem, won. Fine. Okay. Sure. But then, when we come back, don't sit here and cry to us as if we are these great monsters, as if we are somehow different or worse than anyone who has come before or come after. It is simply killing. That's it. But because you emotionalize and really try and use the Christian word against Christians, which is, I'm sure, some type of unforgivable sin.
How do I mute myself? I gotta take a crap. You can keep talking. Oh, found it.
It is, as Sneaky said, it's intellectually dishonest. It is strange to even make these sort of opinions about human nature as if you don't know what we are, as if you know that men aren't beasts. Like I don't get it.
Well, my whole thing is
I
just
don't
like,
get it.
what I was trying to say to you in the comment section, BS, was because I actually just tagged Sneaky in the video with just that. Historically speaking, I think it's impossible to say that it was like bad. You can say it was justifiable 100%. I mean, it's hard to say that it was not justifiable because from their perspective, you already acknowledged that their brothers and they were being slaughtered. Their people, and they had a loyalty to them. They had a loyalty to the Eastern Church. So I think that it was perfectly justifiable. And the Islamic expansion throughout the Europe would have destroyed like Europe if they wouldn't have done like wars and crusades and battles, whether it be like the Reconquista or the Crusades. All this stuff preserved Christianity. It didn't do anything. It wasn't like bad, wasn't unjustifiable. However, unjustifiable.
So I guess that's kind of a question that I was kind of curious about what's being presented inside this this conversation group, where it's like, is the question specifically, is it justifiable in the way that when it started, it was kind of presented for like cause and effect, or is the question for the debate, was this kind of presented in a means where like it didn't have the justification to actually do the movement in itself of the Crusades? I guess I'm just kind of curious about that.
So
I don't understand your question.
Do you want to just give him a quick rundown of kind of the point of the first video that started this whole thing?
Okay, so when I made my first video, my intention was to say, and I suppose that I should reiterate, I should reword what my opinion is in light of just a few recent comments that I could address, but I won't in this particular little bit of time that I've been allotted here. But I would like to just say, I think that the justifications that were given for the crusade, maybe I shouldn't say that I don't think that the crusades were justified at all, but I should say that that it's my view that the justifications that were given for the crusade weren't very good in the first place, and that I think that there's a framework in which I can understand a defensive conflict against especially a faction like the Seljuk Turks. And I can see a world where in some alternate timeline where they didn't just get in and just massacre everybody, where I wouldn't be having this conversation with people. But I think it's weird that there are a lot of people in the modern world who are just willing to jump to the defense of it. And there are so many people saying, and this is the view I've heard so many times repeated over and over, is, well, that was just how things were at the time. No, I get that. I understand that that's how things were at the time. What I'm saying is that we have people jumping to the defense of it, and also I think that there's a critical analysis that we could make of Islamic expansion as opposed to Christian conversion by the sword as well. That where Islamic expansion kind of comes
Point
out
to me where there was
even a little
Christian
bit more
expansion by the
Just
sword.
let him
Where
finish.
specifically was there Christian expansion by the sword?
in Northern Europe.
When
the
what were
Teutonic
the
Crusades.
details of that?
Oh,
Well,
I know.
well, yes.
Also
I know.
connected to a war?
Could I
No.
point out that
You can answer the
I have a
question.
bit
You
of
can
a
answer
dog
the
in this
question and then
fight.
you can continue.
The Northern Crusades, I can understand.
The
that there
Northern
was-
Crusades were not to Christianize. You are mistaken again.
the
Stop slavery.
Christianization of Norway was definitely to Christianize Norway, right? You can
Norway
understand-
wasn't
Yeah, but that
Christianized
was
by the
also
sword.
done
The
by
rulers
a
of
king
Norway
of their
converted
own
for trade
population.
reasons, and then they converted their people.
Yeah, King Hakon did that
a lot
of
of
his
it
own
wasn't
accord.
done by
No one
the
made
sword,
him.
sure, but there
What?
were instances where it was done by the
There
sword.
were instances
how about-
hundreds of years before that during the time of Charlemagne. Charlemagne converted people by the sword, and the church told him not to do that.
there were certainly
That's
also
the only
crusades in the
instance
north.
in the entire medieval time period, the 1,000 years of medieval history, where there were people converted by the sword.
How about burning of sacred groves? Is that under Charlemagne as you're
They
referencing right
were
now?
Literally, no,
slaving
that was by
Christians.
Norse rulers in the Norse world.
No. I'm talking about the burning of Christian groves in Germany. Of sacred groves of the pagans in Germany. And look, I'm Christian. I am Christian. Okay? So I do have that same dog in this fight as so many of you who are also commenting.
This isn't
I'm just
a
not
faith
completely
argument.
dogmatic.
This isn't a faith-based argument. I don't know why
I
you
think
keep
it
trying
is.
to bring that
I
in.
think
This
it
is
is.
a purely
I think
historical
that-
argument.
I don't.
I think that you guys are betraying the bias that you have towards the Christians during the conflicts of the Crusade. I
There
think
is
that's
no
what's going on here.
bias. I have portrayed no bias. I've stuck strictly to historical fact. You said they weren't justified, and the
That's the
justification was
problem right
bad.
there.
The justification for the Crusades was that Emperor Alexios called for aid. That aid was the Crusades.
Again, he's tagging on this moral ideal to calling for aid and what justification actually means. It does
I
not
understand.
carry this sort of like, I don't know, oh, I'm morally right or I'm morally wrong, like tag to it. It's simply just, did it happen? Yes. Did it happen?
Yes, by the
No.
way,
Like Sneaky
you said
said.
something earlier in this conversation. You said that it basically is, Christians are online defending the Crusades. The Crusades has been villainized for the past 50 years in the West, even though historically speaking, it actually was not even unjustifiable. So it's actually unpopular even today to say the Crusades were justified.
Or
So
even
we have the unpopular opinion, actually.
and let's get into the actual scope of the Crusades. The Crusades did nothing against Islam. Islam expanded after the Crusades happened. It's not like it destroyed this, like peaceful religion who had this, utopia of a society. These were desert barbarians who had no problem killing men, women, and children to get what they wanted.
That sounds a little biased.
Muslims
It's
were
not.
not
That's
barbarians.
what they did.
The Muslims of the time were experiencing a golden age of prosperity and civilization. Have you heard of the Baghdad House of Wisdom?
Well, of course you're going to
Okay.
experience a golden age after you killed 2.5 civilizations and took all their crap after living in the desert in a tent.
Well, wait a second.
And by the way,
integrated
where did they get all
into
those?
many
Where
different-
did they get all their knowledge from? It was literally pre-existing knowledge that they just continued.
No, they
No, like,
innovated
even
a lot of
Roman
new
knowledge, they
mathematical
continued that.
concepts.
They continued it.
They innovated a lot of very new mathematical concepts like algebra, algorithm.
Indians.
Yeah, they didn't invent that. They actually did not invent that.
Well, wait, I
That
do
was a
think
math is a
One
continuation.
at a time,
of
gentlemen.
ideas. It was a continuation of
Can I
ideas.
say
So to
something?
suggest that they invented, like all this stuff, they invented the hospitals. No, hospitals were invented by Christians. They invented Islamic architecture. No, that architecture was taken from the Byzantine, and then they added designs to it. So they simply took
the
stuff
Sasanians.
from the Persians. They took stuff or took ideas from the Byzantines, and then they built upon that, like any civilization would,
See,
given the
While
context.
at
I
the
think
exact
that-
same time,
But
they
that's
wiped
all
out the
civilizations.
they nearly wiped out the Zoroastrian religion as a whole. No longer
did
an
not.
organized religion
They
after
did
that.
not.
I'm
They
not done
considered-
talking.
They did. What are you talking
Sorry.
about? Yes, they
Absolutely
totally
did. Most Zoroastrians were forced to live in India, and then not that long after, 40 million Indians died as a direct result of Islam, but that's not in the scope of the topic. Also, the Vandals, the Visigoths, as cultural groups of people stop existing directly because of the Islamic expansion. The Golden Age, the Islamic Golden Age, was only a golden age to the Arabs, who up until the early Islamic expansion had been more or less subject people to more powerful empires.
I think that that's pretty reductionist. I honestly do. Because
You can
you're
that's pretty
breaking down
reductionist
a
all you
lot of
want. That is what it is.
who hasn't what sources have you read about this time period?
All of them.
What
Well,
what primary sources have you read about this time period?
All of them.
What
he's read all the sources.
all of them? You've read all the primary sources.
Mhm.
So could you name like maybe a primary source that you've read about the time period?
I could.
I think that the conversation is like kind of teetering
It's called
on
Google, buddy. You can
when-
research on Google.
when we say
I've
like
even
something like
conceded
justifiable.
multiple times that there are. I could conceive of a situation where I wouldn't even be talking about this. But the reason why I talk about crusade apologia is because I'm sensitive about seeing people justify violence in the name of my religion. There are people who hold to other religious belief systems that feel the same way about their religion. So that's why I'm so vocal about advocating against violence in the name of my religion. Unless
Can I interject here?
there's actually a really good
Here's the
reason.
thing, though.
Well, I
I get
think
your
that
point from a
the
religious
thing, I think that
perspective, right?
it's
But here's the thing. Christianity, no matter if the Crusades happened or not in the name of Christianity, it's still far less violent than every single other religion. That's just the honest truth. One little conflict that was justifiable, you can talk about it and contextualize it. If you talk about a situation and you say you condemn this and condemn this, then it actually makes your religion look worse. It actually makes your religion look like they were doing silly things and these guys were dumb. But if you actually
That's
talk about it
also-
in historical context, you can make sense of it, and it makes perfect sense. It was a defensive. It was initially a defensive because of Islamic expansion.
well, wait.
So,
I think that
this
we're kind of
whole-
associating nationalism with kind of religious ideologies. and
Nationalism wasn't
identities.
a thing that existed
Yeah.
at
I
the
know.
time.
Hear me out. Hear
I'm
me
not
out.
talking about nationalism.
No, I know,
haven't
I know.
addressed
Not
nationalism at
even
all.
real.
But what I'm saying is there is no part of Christianity that kind of encourages this level of like kind of violence that came from the Crusades. So
So then
Well,
why did it
this
happen?
is another through point that both of you have been saying. There was
I
no
haven't said this
incredible
before.
level of violence. Even the siege of Jerusalem wasn't anything special for the time period.
Okay, but that
It
it
was
was.
Like you
but the
seem to
time
have a
period was
problem
But
with
pretty
the
violent.
medieval
no, I
period
don't
in
have a
general.
problem.
Sorry, that's just how it was.
No. I'm not getting
I don't.
upset. All I'm saying is that it's a representation of the time that then is coded with the ideology of Christianity. So these are just people interacting inside the time period with kind of the face value of Christianity. Like it's kind of like having an ethno state or like having an ethnic group of people.
I'd really like to push back on this idea that people are different in different time periods. We're not. We're just people,
That's
and we
stupid.
always have.
That's it. That's actually insane.
People are
We
not.
have that-
People are not
this is the-
different
this
in
is the-
That is
different time
legitimately
periods.
one of the dumbest things
That-
I've
Before
heard.
we even-
yeah, your
Can I just
sensibilities
keep going for a
so-
second?
No.
Can I just keep going for just a second? Please, just let me finish. I think I've been pretty good for a minute about being sure not to cut people off and let people finish. So just give me a second to explain my point, okay? My point here is that people behave differently in different material conditions. They don't behave differently because it's a different year. That's ridiculous. We behave differently because of different material conditions. It's the
No.
year 6000 in the Byzantine calendar. It's like the year 6500 something in the Byzantine calendar.
You see, I know exactly what it is. He subscribes to this like academia blue book of words, and he's using right. You have to understand, dude. When you're talking about this stuff, you are adding things like you are unintentionally adding more to what you're saying with the words that you're using. Like when you said, "Oh, it's the year 6000 in the Byzantine calendar," that means nothing, because time does not necessarily mean progress. Number one, because that's that's what you're insinuating when you say that. Number two, it totally matters in the year that you grew up in, because people's values are totally different. Yes, we may have the same overarching values of family, love, honesty, contributing to one's community, yada yada yada, but in terms of how we think about life and death and how we exercise those powers are totally different. They're so different.
How people even view other people is completely different.
Exactly.
You think you take a Neo-Assyrian from the Neo-Assyrian Empire, he's going to view humanity, other people, the same way that you or I view them? No, absolutely not, because it was influenced by the time period in which he lived.
Yeah,
And
I actually
also-
agree with what you said, because you did say material conditions, but I'm like, what is your point exactly? Yeah, your material conditions impact the way you think, which you should take those material conditions into, reflection of of the situation, because they lived in a time period where people died all the time. People went to war at a very young age. I bet you a lot of people in the Crusades were like 14. Like, let's keep it a buck.
Mind you, we had the scientific method and was still practicing slavery, as if we are not different people than the people that came before us. Like, we are so much farther beyond in terms of empathetic thought, law, literally just about any societal metric.
We're quite
anyone
literally
could
disconnected
ever
from
hope to
violence
on.
today. We're quite literally disconnected from violence, like
Like-
real violence.
Like, and to the point that Sneaky made, we for a long time and for kind of a good reason didn't really even perceive other people as human, as a literal human being. Like, we all know what the Mongols thought. Sneaky loves to remind us, as cattle, as literal things to be killed and to be made to work. That's it. That's all. No compassion, no love, no thought about what about this man's children or this man's grandmother or this man's sister. They didn't give a fuck. Matter of fact, I'm not going to say that. We're on live. But point is, none of these people could ever be relied upon to generate even half the empathy that you can generate as a modern person today. Not half. Those men would axe you down and go and eat afterwards as if you hadn't existed at all. No.
So I want to just say something, and I'm going to try and circle back around to Beast, what you were talking about when you were explaining kind of the video that kind of kicked all this off. In the video, you specifically said that the Crusades were unjustifiable and that they were an atrocity. Now, when you came on here, you kind of said, hey, maybe I shouldn't have said they were completely unjustifiable, but you said that you don't find those justifications to be very good. Now, I understand that your view on that comes from, you not wanting to associate Christianity with violent acts, but that is your opinion as a modern person. And because of that, you view the Crusades as an atrocity and unjustifiable. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Sneaky, but what you have said is that it is not really an atrocity or unjustifiable based on the people living at the time and how they felt about it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's kind of the crux of the argument. So if you can address that, I'd be happy to listen.
Does anybody, just before we get there, does anybody that disagrees, anybody else that disagrees want to come up? I want to have gangbang here.
Can't really imagine anybody wanting to.
Okay, shall I go?
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just think that, first of all, the reason why I said that the justifications that they gave weren't that good is because they're obvious atrocity propaganda. And when I say atrocity propaganda, that's obviously a modern term, and I'm stretching its meaning to be used in this more, this medieval context. But what I mean is just that he was making claims that aren't necessarily verifiable. And the claims of, they took the city. Well, that's verifiable. We know that because, after a certain time, like the material culture of the city shifts, or, the record keeping of the city shifts to where it says, like, now this faction is in charge of that city, but, they sodomized 1,000 Christian men and shamed them before the temple, and then they destroyed the temple. But then, like, that same temple is still there today in West Asia, and it's like, yeah, no, they were making stuff up to justify going and attacking. And why did Pope Urban do that? And Pope Urban didn't make the stuff up. Sorry, but like, obviously there were all these people that were just not making stuff up necessarily, but exaggerating their claims to go and justify their campaigns, to justify, like, hey, we need to do something about this situation with these people. And so I just think that anytime that we're analyzing a period of history like this, it's just important because there are obviously objective things about it. There are obviously objective facts to inform our interpretations of the time period, but it seems like you guys are asserting the opinion that we ought to just be like, well, it was just part of the time. But I'm asserting the opinion that we can look at the people that did the Crusades as real human beings, just like you and me. They're just human beings, and try to imagine what would it take for ourselves to be in that position. And it's hard, obviously, to be so verbose as I'm being right now on a TikTok, because I have to make my TikToks about 3 minutes, for algorithm and viewership and retention reasons.
Did the Battle of Manzikert happen, yes or no?
I don't know if there's good archaeological evidence that it happened.
Okay, yeah.
So,
there's no conversation.
Manzikert was quintessential to why the Crusades had to happen in the first place, because the Byzantines, it's not like they lost a little bit of the army that they could recover. Their military was so completely routed that
that was an answer. If you can't say definitively that the Battle of Manzikert happened, you are literally historically illiterate.
I said I said I didn't know what the archaeology has to say. So if the archaeology does have to say that there was a battle there, then that's really convincing. I would say also I don't know what the sources of the time have to say.
Why are you allowed to take people for their damn word?
Wasn't even
That's
just
my
saying,
question.
God.
Why can't
Exactly.
we just
Right.
accept
It's
the
like
word?
questioning
the
that
point.
the British lost all the material at Dunkirk. You know what I mean? It's like saying, "Oh, they had more gas in the tank." No, you know, like without if the Pope did not call the Crusades, right? At the very least, they would have lost the entirety of Anatolia.
Well, they did lose the entirety of Anatolia.
Yeah, they did, and eventually also
okay,
the Eastern
all right,
Roman
no,
Empire
shut up.
You know,
If the Battle of Manzikert didn't happen, or it's in debate, which it's not, like it's a very well attested historical event. What happened to the Byzantine tagma system?
Joke, man's a joke.
Tell me.
I'm asking you, what happened to the Byzantine tagma system?
By saying "tell me," I'm implying I don't know. This is something I don't know about the subject. I don't know every single
dear
thing.
If you believe that the Battle of
done.
Manzikert is
That's
in
not
debate,
even like a crazy hard
I
thing.
didn't say
that
that. I just
directly
said I didn't
impacts
know.
the Crusades.
Hey,
That
I'd like to point
directly
out, I'm
impacts
being
the
really
Crusades
honest.
and the next couple hundred years after. Like, how are you forming an opinion about these things when you don't know the most basic things about it?
Because I've listened to other scholars already. I haven't read the sources for myself. I've just listened to scholars I trust.
You haven't done your own research. You
I'm not
haven't
yet.
looked at
I haven't done it. I
looked at
haven't
the primary
totally done
or
it.
secondary or tertiary sources.
I bet you haven't either, though. You haven't named
I
any.
clearly have. I know about the Battle of Manzikert. I know it destroyed the
didn't-
Byzantine tagma system. I know that
Yeah.
immediately after that battle, basically,
I'm
he
worried
calls
people
for
are
aid
doing it.
from the West.
Everyone knows that. If the sources are to be
You
believed,
just said
but
you
I don't.
didn't.
sources are
You
to
just
believe. Why
said
do you keep
you
saying
didn't.
Okay, look. Oh my god, I already started the battle.
Basing your arguments off of what you've heard from other people, which has been Sneaky's point this whole time. You are historically illiterate. You don't have any personal
Don't go that far.
research
Don't
of
go
your
that far.
own.
Who said I wouldn't go that far? Who said
I
that?
said you don't go
You
that far.
just said you don't know. You haven't read the primary and secondary sources. You
RM,
literally
I'm not
just
gonna lie.
said
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know nothing about that either. I'm not gonna lie. So
RM, can you tell me what you think historical literacy means?
Being literate in history.
I disagree. I think that it means to understand what the historical
we're going to
method
define the
is.
term. We're going to redefine
It's like he
terms
doesn't
now.
believe in like objective reality.
Oh
like as
my
if there
God.
aren't things that are concrete, like the Battle of Manzikert. Like,
You guys have degrees.
Oh, my opinion is this
Yes.
from this definition.
Who
Like,
has a degree?
what are you talking about? You
Who has a
don't,
degree?
You don't get to have an opinion on
I
these
have
things. They
multiple
just
degrees,
are.
actually.
Who
You
has
have
a
an
degree?
opinion on rocks, and do you believe that opinion somehow
And also,
affects
like,
the-
you're not gonna argue you can't argue from authority on history.
I'm not-
We
I
all
don't have a degree.
you literally exactly are. That's why you ask if anybody had a degree.
I said I
have
don't
a degree.
have
I
a
have a
degree.
history degree. I
Right,
have a
but
creative
you
writing
asked us
degree.
if we
Those
had
are 2
degrees,
degrees.
and
But also, it
when
doesn't matter.
some of us
everybody,
don't, we're going to say-
everybody has access to the exact same sources. The exact same
I know.
sources you're going to use in college, in
Agreed.
undergraduate, and after graduate. It doesn't matter. That's not
Agreed.
an argument you can make for history.
No. Agreed. I think that history is one of the things that people
So why ask
outside
if anybody
academia
had a
can most
degree?
participate in.
Why
But
ask if
now I'd
anybody
like
had a
to-
degree?
Now I'd like to ask: are you guys mutuals with people who have degrees?
Answer my question.
Once again,
I'm-
how is this
I'm
relevant
building
if
up
you're
to
not
something.
going to make an
I'm
argument
kind of
from
being a little
authority?
bit Socratic, okay? I'm building up to something. I'm trying to
Nah, get to the
establish
point.
something.
Answer the
I'm trying
question.
to establish precedent. Okay, which question in particular? I'm sorry, I have ADHD. I have a hard time keeping track of things.
I also have ADHD.
Well, you know, I'm just trying to point out, I just have a hard time keeping track of everything all at once. So I'm just trying to ask which question in particular am I being asked
Stay on
right now?
topic. It'd be a whole lot easier instead of trying to deflect to things that are completely irrelevant.
Like I've said, I have ADHD, so it's hard to stay on topic.
Not that hard. I've done it the whole
Well,
time.
it's not that hard. Do you have medication for being on ADHD?
I have medication. It's called discipline.
I would have expected this.
And Adderall.
Who has Adderall?
I have a question for you, Beast.
No. I'm gonna I'll ask my question first. What does having a degree or being mutuals with someone that has a degree have anything to do with this conversation?
Because I think that the best way to talk about history is to talk about history among a group of many people who actually are qualified to talk about it.
Anyone that
you
has
want
done
group
research
to tell
into
you what to
history is
believe.
qualified to talk about history. As I said, you are attempting to argue from authority. That's not going to work here.
Beast, are you a are you a communist?
That's not relevant. That's not relevant.
No.
We're
That's
not
just
talking
as
about
relevant as
modern
having a
politics.
degree.
But I'm
We're
just
not talking
curious.
about modern politics. I'm not going to answer that question right now.
It's just as relevant as having a
We're not-
degree.
Okay, look, I just really don't think that a tangent on modern politics is
But every other tangent
No,
you make
I'm
is
not.
relevant.
I'm not attacking you for what you believe. If you're a communist, you're a communist. You know, you can subscribe to whatever you want to. One of my favorite leaders is a communist, Thomas Sankara. He was actually probably like the only good communist. But
Fred Hampton. Well, you gotta.
Okay.
Never mind. We'll get there later.
I'm pretty
I'm just
uninterested
curious.
in
Are
this
you?
conversation.
I'm
Yes,
just.
I'm a communist. Why?
But anyway, what does having a degree? Oh, you already answered that. Do you have a degree in history?
No, I don't. No, I'd like to be abundantly clear. I do not have a degree. And so, in that case, I am then less qualified to speak on certain things than you are. Obviously,
No, it doesn't. The degree is
according to
completely
my
irrelevant.
opinion.
It's the
And what-
fact that you
It's
yourself,
your opinion.
you said
Your opinion.
that you haven't
I've
done the
read
research yourself.
I've read
That
a
is what
handful-
makes you.
I've read a handful of primary sources. I've read a handful of
What
primary
ones?
sources, and I've read a secondary source about it as well. Let me open up my search history. Okay.
You're a Christian communist.
I'm a Christo
Rare.
commie, that's correct.
Where?
Jesus wanted
I'm not a big
Jesus
fan of
wanted to
communists,
feed
to
the
be honest,
poor.
but, you know,
Jesus wanted to feed the hungry. Jesus wanted to shelter the homeless. That's what
Did he
we
want
that's
the
not-
government
that's
to
not gonna be
compel
keys to
people to do that?
Hey. No. Come on. We promise we keep it light, keep it fun.
Yeah, let's not get into all that.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate conversation. That
Look, everyone has a good idea of what everyone thinks, and we will all keep it to ourselves.
I've read a little bit from the historian Arthur Goldschmidt Jr. Rather, sorry.
Let me not. Let me not.
who?
And
get it. What-
he referenced some letters that were primary sources. So then I also read those in quotation. That was what I did. I did, some cursory brushing up on the subject because I have a pretty wide breadth of knowledge on the scope of things that have happened in human history. And so every now and then, before I do a video, I just do, especially with TikTok, I do a pretty cursory brush up. If I'm going to, the reason why I made the crusade video is because I thought that by getting so many people to comment, it would make the video do so much better. But I just feel like my audience just really doesn't care one way or another whether the crusades were justified. And so that's why at the very beginning is I don't think the crusades were justified because that's what's going to get people to comment. But of course, if you just watch through
That's
to the
not
end
what
of
you
the
said.
video,
You said the Crusades weren't justified, and the Crusades were an atrocity.
So, are you admitting
There
to saying
were
that for clout?
atrocities. There were war crime level
There were
atrocities
no
committed
war
during the
crimes.
crusades.
No, there absolutely
War
weren't.
crimes is a modern invention.
I said war crime level atrocities, as in if those atrocities had occurred today, we would classify them as war crimes.
But they
right?
didn't occur today.
It doesn't
They
matter
occurred in the
whether
Middle
they
Ages.
occurred
It absolutely
Under-
does matter.
under-
That was
In
the
In my opinion, it does not.
Well, Hold
Again,
up, bud. Hold up.
your
Under the
opinion is irrelevant.
Judeo, Muslim, and Christian books and studies, everything that everyone did during their wars was totally legal. Even what happened to the Christians, it's legal and permissible under
Then-
God during that time.
Then how could you possibly justify the Crusades? Because it was legal for the Muslims
Because
to
it's
do it.
also legal for me to go and take back what's mine. You're not allowed to steal from me.
But
We're not bringing, like, this is not a religious argument, so stop trying to justify it or unjustify it by religious means. That's completely irrelevant. The Crusades were justified because they were a response. They were a response at the request of Emperor Alexios, following the Battle of Manzikert.
No, Sneaky,
You don't even know the full context of what caused the Crusades. How can you then form an opinion on the Crusades and whether or not they were justified?
I just said I hadn't read the primary sources myself. I just barely explained to you a secondary source from a scholar that I trust.
You
that I
said
had
you
read.
didn't even know what the Battle of Manzikert was. You didn't even know if it
That
happened
is
or not.
not what I said. You did, okay, so
That
you
is
did not
actually a
watch my
direct
video. You did not watch my video then.
No, we're talking about what you
We're
said
not talking
here.
about your video. We're talking about here right now. You
If
said
had watched
you
my
did not
video
know
that
the Battle of
came out 2
Manzikert. You did
days
not know what happened to the Battle of Manzikert. You're not
Oh my
sure
god,
what happened.
dude. Oh my god. I feel like I'm taking fucking crazy pills because that is not what I said. I said
That
I
is
wasn't
literally
sure.
exactly what you said.
I said I wasn't sure whether the archaeological record backs up whether the Battle of Manzikert actually happened.
And
That
then
was what I
after
said. I
that-
didn't say that I didn't know that it happened. I know
After
that
that-
I know that the sources say that it happened.
If you aren't sure of something that has or has not happened, buddy, and you then go to everyone and try to speak on a topic that directly deals with that thing, mind you, it is actually a crux point in the thing and kind of one of the biggest things that set off what happened. How are you qualified to speak on it?
I literally
How are
have
you-
I literally have a mutual who's a medievalist who watched
a
that
mutual.
video and liked it.
That
I'm
doesn't
sure we-
matter.
Do you
It
believe
does
that?
too.
No, it
It
doesn't.
does too.
Again,
Peace.
Because
your
somebody
opinion is not
on this
fact.
app liked your video doesn't make what you say any more or less correct.
I'm
Because
just
somebody
saying.
I used to be best pals with the biggest history creator on this app. That doesn't make
But-
what I say any more or
Are
less
you-
correct. It's
But are you a
completely irrelevant.
medievalist? No, I'm just saying that I have a
It
mutual
does
who's a
not matter.
medievalist.
Wait, hold,
You're
hold,
talking
hold.
to another person with their own biases and opinion. Their biases and opinion are not more meaningful than the historical record. You started this whole thing. Do you know the historical method? You clearly don't. You don't follow the historical method.
Oh
History
my
isn't
God.
based on whether people agree with you or not.
Oh my god. That's
Beast.
not what I said. You guys
Earlier-
are literally strawmanning me and
Literally
gish
not.
galloping.
Earlier,
Lizzo
you
literally
said
liked
that
my post, bro. She literally
you-
liked my post.
we're not sure that the archaeological evidence showed that the Battle of Manzikert occurred. However,
You guys
after
know that it does.
After that, Sneaky asked you what happened to the Byzantine Tagma system after the Battle of Manzikert, and you said you don't know. And that is one of the crucial things that led to the Crusades. So if you don't know that, why are you speaking on it? And presenting in your videos to your followers your opinions
As
as fact.
I did not say that they're facts. I did not say that they're facts.
You made a statement that not even seems to be. You made a statement presenting it as a factual statement. You did not say, in my opinion, the Crusades weren't justified. You did not say, in my opinion, they were an atrocity.
You don't
said
have to in
the
history because
Crusades-
history is all about.
Oh my god.
It's not.
If you're about to say history's all about opinions,
It
just
is.
leave.
You know
Just
who
leave.
history was an
Good
opinion
God.
to? Adolf Hitler.
Oh my god, no. We can't do this anymore. This is
No,
insane.
okay. I'm not talking about the kind of revisionism in which
definitely
right-wing
think some
authorities
crazy
engage
shit.
in.
You literally are. That entire video was historical
That's why I asked him if he was a communist.
I am a revisionist. I am a revisionist.
All right. Well, it was good talking to you. That's all we needed.
Yeah.
Your opinion on history should not be taken at all.
By the way,
you are
BS,
historically illiterate. You are
God,
uneducated,
man.
and you should never speak about history until you educate yourself.
Please don't.
I am educated.
Dude,
I am
clearly are
educated
not.
on history.
You clearly are not.
You said
Your
said-
whole source where somebody agreed with my opinion, and then you lied about reading a primary source, which clearly you didn't. You don't know the things leading up to or around the Crusades.
I said
You have
that.
said
I
that,
read.
and you have
That's something I
demonstrated
need you
that
to
multiple
understand,
times,
dude.
not only
You
in your
are
video,
actively-
but in this live.
You are actively
I literally
leading
went,
your
But I want to say
fellow
something. I want to say
man.
something.
Dude,
BS. Okay, this is what I want to say. Right? It's okay to change your mind. Literally, you can just change your mind. You don't have to like keep on arguing something that you don't have like enough evidence for. And it's okay if you don't know enough to make your argument strong enough. Just say, okay, well, I agree with you for now until I do enough research or whatever. You know, it's like if you don't have the knowledge or to make a stronger argument, it's okay to change your mind, bro. It's okay.
I have to point out, I did show my search history, or at least go through my search history from the other day, from before I made that video, from right leading up to when I made that video. That
But it seems
did
like
have,
it seems like you already agreed, though. It seems like you already agreed.
and
in
I
a
was
sense,
looking for
because
things that
when we
that
talked about-
confirmed my
when we just
viewpoint.
talked
Yeah,
about- When we just talked
That's
about,
everyone does.
No, first, this is just for
What's up,
anybody
father?
watching. Like, it's pointless
I'm
to talk
being-
to you.
I'm
not.
being overwhelmingly.
You can't have a point and then use the sources that only confirm your point. That is improper historical methodology. You have an idea, you look at the sources. If they confirm your idea, great. If they don't confirm your idea, change your fucking point.
but you also, I wanted to say, you already kind of acknowledged that you were wrong, or you can't prove that it was unjustifiable. But if you want to prove your point, all you have to do is provide evidence that this was like, I don't know, it would have to be a response to something, like a preemptive response, like an attack, like, you know, basically you're just attacking somebody for no reason. But you can't really prove that, so therefore it was justified, and it's okay to acknowledge, okay, it was justified. Because, like, if they were attacked first, if Eastern Christendom was going to, it could have potentially fell to the Muslims. If they were really in danger, then you really can't prove that it was not justifiable. You know, you can't prove it.
It's all based on opinion. But
Which history
when you believe
is
that
not.
your opinion is, important to history, then I guess that's okay.
No. When you believe your opinion is correct in history, that's when you have an issue. Because, again, there is this objective right and wrong, and there is this objective how things happened. It's not a mystery. Like you want to put people in the shoes of human, like, modern empathy or whatever. Well, let's put them in modern documentation. How about that? Like as if people don't know what they're talking about, as if people didn't live and write down about these experiences, and whether or not things have archaeological data. Is that what he said? Right?
Yes.
I'm like,
Because he was using that as trying to say, like, well, I don't know, the archaeological evidence doesn't show, when everybody knows the Battle of Manzikert happened. And the only reason you would say something like that is because you know that you're not going to have a leg to stand on.
RM,
So you start hemming and
RM?
hawing and...
RM,
What's
you
up?
are blatantly misrepresenting what I said about the Battle of Manzikert in the archaeological record. I said I didn't know whether the archaeological record did or did not back up the Battle of
And how
Manzikert.
is
Do
that
any of you know?
relevant? How is
Do
that
any of you
relevant?
know if the archaeological record? Okay, and does it? I'd like to know. Okay, then thank you. So it pretty
So
much
why bring it
definitively
up?
the Battle of Manzikert happened. I agree to that.
So why bring that up at all in the
he
conversation?
does not have a leg to stand on. You already
That's my
said.
point. You can say I'm misrepresenting what you said
Just-
all you want.
Just
I
because
disagree.
the Battle of
That's my
Manzikert
opinion.
happened.
And you know what? I think my opinion is the correct one.
I can see why you're a
Do you have a moral
communist.
argument or no? Are you done? Like, 'cause it seems like
No,
you
no.
never had like a real argument for like what's justified in the first place. Like,
Beast,
I
did
brought
you
up
grow up
in your
with a
comments.
father?
I brought up in your comments a perfect
Dude,
example.
chill out.
No, I need to ask.
Chill out.
I brought a perfect example from just recent history. Okay, was the war against Germany evil? Yeah, technically it was evil, but was it wrong? No, it wasn't. Or justifiable. Was it justifiable? I mean, it's like things can be justifiable and morally reprehensible because innocent people will always die in a conflict like war. However, things can be justifiable just logically. Like justifiable doesn't have to have any emotion to it. Just logically, was it justified to do the crusade? Yes. Do you have an argument against that? Just logically, was it okay to do the crusades? Yes. I mean,
I don't think that it's in the context of logic. I think that it's in the context of if I was in the time,
of logic.
if I was in the time, if I lived then, and I were Christian, I'd go on crusade.
What you're saying is completely meaningless. If you were in the time, you wouldn't have any of the same beliefs and ideals that you have right now.
I know.
That's why I said he would go on the crusades. Yeah, you would.
Said I would go on the crusades.
You definitely wouldn't. You aren't like that. You ain't built like that.
Or I'd stay home and be a serf. Sure, fine, because of my physiognomy apparently. But
yes, I'm glad you know, bro.
Oh my god,
that's not what I said.
All right, fair enough. But
yeah, dude, you put that on
you meant physiology, not physiognomy.
No, physiognomy is like this thing that the ancient Greeks came up with. It's the study of how people's faces look and how that means that they're a good or bad person. And people believe in it. It's like gained traction in like weird right-wingazoid circles. People start believing in physiognomy, which, you know what? I mean, I'm conventionally attractive to a broad portion of the population. So, you know what? I don't really care.
Well, I wasn't bringing up your appearance. You just look like a normal dude.
If you can crush some, good for you, dude. But I'm just gonna tell you.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
We don't respect. We don't respect fatties,
dude. Do you
dude.
keep bringing up shit that has nothing to do with the conversation? Why?
Well,
help me understand?
Why do my points keep getting flagrantly misrepresented?
They aren't being misrepresented. If you feel as if your points are being misrepresented, have better points.
But I just provided a great argument.
You did.
No, I did not.
I said that I said that it was not within my realm of knowledge whether the archaeological record backed up the Battle of Manzikert. It was not something that I knew at that time. I didn't say that I knew that the archaeological record did not back it up.
You didn't.
That is
I
what
never
you
said
said that I said.
You didn't. What I said was, why would you bring up the fact that, I don't know if the archaeological evidence suggests that the Battle of Manzikert happened?
Because
obviously, if you've read anything to do with the Crusades and leading up to them, you know that the Battle of Manzikert happened. Whether the archaeological evidence suggests it does or not has nothing to do with the conversation that we were having.
I have one question for you. One question. This is the one question.
Literally does.
I have one question, BS.
It does too.
It doesn't.
BS. Is there any war in history? BS. Is there any war in history you think was justified? That's just my last question. Any war in history do you think is justified? Any? Go ahead.
Yeah. The IRA fighting for Irish unification.
Bombing kids. That's justifiable.
That? Hold up,
What about? But there were atrocities that occurred in that. So doesn't that make it all unjustifiable?
And during the time where they had war crimes.
You know, it comes down to who has the most power, who has the power.
Okay. So you're just a little guy side.
So the Muslims had more power, though. The Muslims. But I want to say that to you. The Muslims had far more power than Christendom. They were literally like. Why do you think we needed a crusade in the first place? Because the Eastern Christians were losing. Like I don't.
And also, they wanted that sweet, sweet Indian trade.
Did he leave or did he get kicked?
He's gone. I kicked him.
Thank God.
Christ in heaven.
I'm not. There's a certain point that like I'll accept, but one, I'm not arguing history with people that are historically illiterate. There's no point in that. I'm not going to do that. And two,
he proved himself time and again to be historically illiterate. And then his argument was, well, not in my opinion.
It's always the people that know the literal least.
Physiognomy. That's all
that
I'm
have
saying.
the strongest opinion. If you don't know about the Battle of Manzikert, you shouldn't have an opinion.
And it's
about
not even
the
just that, right? Like, he will just deny anything that doesn't fit his worldview, right? Like, like denying the impact that Manzikert had. It'd be like denying, like,
The moon.
if the German invasion of Poland can be backed up by
How could he deny it?
archaeological
He
facts
didn't
and
know
data.
about it.
Exactly, and that's the whole. That's the whole point. People take these little snippets that they get from other people without doing their own research, and then they view that as fact.
Hello.
It's not hi. That's not a thing you do in history.
Fuck, man.
I
Having conversations with people like that is tiring.
If I had a son like that, I think I'd get into the sea.
Don't. We're not attacking people. We're attacking ideas.
No, but
Hello.
Hi again.
Hi.
You got something to say?
Of course. I was just wondering what the topic of discussion is.
You missed a lot.
Yeah, you missed a lot.
But basically, I got in late too. Lefty retard. Well, I'm not gonna
Hey.
accurate.
An individual was saying a lot of things about a historical event that made no sense to fit his worldview. And we were collectively, like, shutting on him.
That's not what I was doing.
No, that's what I was doing. I wasn't on the live, but that's what I was doing. They were on.
Yeah, no, seriously, like straight
I
to the
love
rock.
history and I love the subject. So, is there a debate going on?
Were the Crusades justified or not?
Can you explain?
That's a very simple question. It's a yes or no question, even. Like, it's that simple. Were the Crusades justified or weren't they?
It's not simple to me because I don't know what you mean.
Well, then I don't think you know much about history.
Well, I know a lot about history, but I don't know about that. If
Do you
can
know what the
explain it.
word justified means?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what the Crusades were?
No, I don't. Can you explain it to me?
Oh, well, no. If you don't know what the Crusades are, why are you here?
Because I love.
Woman moment.
Oh no.
Actual woman moment.
How are you interested in history and you don't know what the Crusades were?
Right? That's like the one thing that every like history nerd first learns about.
Wait, what was
It's
World War
literally
II?
like part of the pipeline. Rome, then Crusades, then if you're a little bit spicy, sometimes World War II, right?
Yeah.
Know all the name of the tanks.
If you got that ubertism, you get into like the 16th, 17th century stuff.
Yeah.
Real history is the Mongols.
Go around.
No, that is not an anti-woman thing. That was not a misogynist thing or anything
No, that
like
was just somebody
It's
who
just-
had no
I'm
idea
not-
what they were
Was
talking
for
about.
me.
The whole debate is about the Crusades. I'm not going to educate you so you can attempt to have a debate. Like,
I have a
Figure it out.
point. I wonder if y'all can hear me.
I thought you were black this entire time.
Whom?
What do you
The
mean?
stiffy man.
What, you don't like Michael Jordan saying "fuck them kids"?
I just assumed that over these
He's
accounts
Southern.
that you followed me
He's
on, I
black.
thought you were a black guy.
Would you still love me?
Dog, my wife is white, my daughter's half white,
Awesome.
my parents
but-
are white.
But my point was,
Love a
but
good
the
swirl.
big point I wanted to make was if that was the whole thing about the Battle of Manzikert being the one defining thing that caused the Crusades. If the Byzantine army wasn't completely destroyed like it was, then they wouldn't need the aid of the Catholics.
It's not even just that particular art. Well, I mean, yes and
Holy
no,
shit, he just brought up an actually great point.
because like that army consisted of the entire Tagma system, and it's
Right.
the fact that they lost the Tagma system and all of Anatolia. Like
half
people
the
like to say
tax
that the
base
sack
collected
of Constantinople was like the nail in the coffin for the Byzantine Empire. The loss of the Tagma system in Anatolia was the final nail in the coffin for the Byzantines. There was no
Everything
recovery
else was
from the
just kind
Battle of
of
Manzikert.
life support.
Well, if I'm also being completely honest here, I thought the final nail in his whole argument was when he mentioned that he was a history revisionist.
Yeah.
I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no.
Oh my God! Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That was
That's
such
why
a
I
crazy.
picked them. I'm not. That's.
You know, the kind of people that try to make everything fit their Marxist worldview. You know, and
Dirty?
I don't even know the guy like that, but like, you know,
There was a very
say-
famous guy in the 1930s and 40s who was
Yeah.
quite the revisionist, and we had the largest war in human history because of that.
Well, I'll put it this way: dirty fucking commies. What do you expect?
Yup. Every damn time.
Russia had their own version of knights.
Also, another group, but we're not going to mention them.
who Cossacks?
No,
I mean, it's not the same thing, but you know.
they had the Druzhina, which were their heavy noble cavalry.
Yeah. But we all, just seeing dudes like him, though, seeing like his facial
We're
structure.
not attacking the guy.
No, I'm not attacking him for his looks. I'm attacking him because his opinions match up with his looks.
That is, an
That's-
opinion to have. I'm not saying anything about
and
it.
let me preference that. But I'm like, when I see those people with that like facial structure and they have those opinions, I'm like, dude, you justify to me like what the Mongols would do to settled populations because ultimately that's what you are. You're like that agrarian like grain eating serf, and like, no, you need to be cold because you don't
I'm not
think
gonna
right.
lie though. He looks like the kind of guy that would like try to jump through hoops and say that like, oh no, Pol Pot, what he was trying to do had nothing to do with communism whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, my only thing I'm going to say about it is it's interesting that he would say that the Crusades were such an atrocity and that he would proclaim to be a Christian. He would say that they were such a bad thing and et cetera, while he says the IRA who massacred children,
It's just the
fine,
standard.
they were justified. That's literally evil.
I mean, there's a thing too. Like you could make a very, very good argument that everyone who was born pre-1948 were practically savages.
You could
Literally.
make the argument that everyone born before 1998.
Really? You can argue
people.
Well, I mean, there was a little bit of civility in,
I
you
wish
think
my
I'm a savage?
other accounts wouldn't have been deleted because I had I addressed this before.
You know, I think humanity is always going to have that barbaric side to them. You know?
Absolutely. All it takes is a
Great
couple
that we
days
do.
without food and water.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no real way around it. You know, even the most moral army in the world has committed a few war crimes here and there. You know what I mean? If you try to like use a strict moral framework of like, oh, it's not a war crime, it's a war crime, so it can never happen. It's never going to happen. Then every military in existence is fucking a bunch of listed as war criminals because
Yes. War crimes is a made-up dumb thing.
Like,
it
I was
makes
like,
no
you know,
sense. No one even follows
if
it.
you're going around nowadays raping and pillaging and it's probably not the best thing to do in the world and you should be fucking charged for your shit.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a dumb thing.
I feel like the military gets caught for those crimes all the time. Any damn
Well, for
way.
it to be a war crime, there has to be an order to do the thing.
Yeah, like when I was an Afghan, right? Like if you fucking just because you felt like you started mowing people down, then you're gonna go away.
What branch were you in?
What?
What branch were you in?
Marines.
All right, never mind.
Yeah, you can hear it. You can hear it in his
Marines.
voice.
I was the 0341.
Must be nice. Must be nice that you were at a time when people deployed.
Wow, okay, you're a good old boy, ain't you?
No, I'm from New York.
Really? What the?
Anyway, before I gotta go do other stuff. But the real big issue is that people try to make it as if there's a right and wrong in history. That's a giant there is no right and wrong in history. There is no, aside from Christ, honestly, because that's the truth. But aside from I am strong enough to do this thing, there is no needed justification. There is no moral justification. There is simply what happened and what didn't happen. The people doing the thing clearly believed it was right. And if you aren't there, you weren't involved, who are you to say that that thing is wrong or right? You can view it how you want, completely removed from the circumstance. That has no effect, impact, or meaning to what actually happened.
I mean, that's when the worst atrocities happen, when you think that I'm in the right, that, God or whatever kind of government, everything's on my side, you know what I mean? I'm doing things for the right, you know what I mean? Like Taliban, they're not going around thinking that they're fucking horrible monsters that go around, mutilating women that
Well, they don't care.
Enthusiastic about it, Ethan.
But they think they're doing the right thing, they're for the most part, you know what I mean? They think that they by making sure women don't go to a park without a male escort, that they're fucking, protecting the purity or some shit. I don't know. I find that fucking shit kind of weird, but
They just stopped women from being able to speak. That's a real thing. I'm not even joking.
yeah, I mean,
They announced
it is comical, but they believe they're in the right. You know what I mean?
No, I feel terrible for them, but oh my god, that's like the funniest thing in the world. Like, I'm sorry, but
in the context of history, whether or not you like it, you don't have to support it. In the context of history, might does make right. And that's 100%. The reason the United States is, one, as safe as it is, and gets away with doing the things that it does, is because the United States has the most powerful military in human history.
Correct.
There's no other justification for it.
Well, and you know something, Sneaky? I feel like this has been consistently how you felt about it, and people who watch you know that. But that guy coming in, I think he thought that because you were saying, like, it's justified, it meant that you thought it was a good thing, and that we all thought it was a good thing. And nobody said that.
The thing is, nowadays, I mean, we live in a world where wars of conquest aren't really such a thing as they used to be. You know what I mean? Like,
not anymore, dog. Oh, I tell you what.
Well, it's because America fixed all that shit. America changed the whole world.
So, but back in the day, right? Taking someone's territory, taking their lands, killing everyone that disagrees with your rule.
It's a good thing.
Another Tuesday, standard practice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you conquer an area, and they're Muslims and we're Christians. Well,
there are Muslims that are Christian. That doesn't even make sense.
And it's not unique to the. You know what I mean? Like, it's just how it was back then. If you were conquered by the Turks, well, you better start brushing up on your Arabic or your Turkish, I should say, because you're about to be fucking.
Yeah, you better get down and you better lay down. It's very simple.
Yeah,
the biggest thing that had changed was when America established the global order under, what was it? Anyway, with the whole global order, how they rewrote and rechanged everything, because if it was the United States that single-handedly destroyed the Japanese imperialism, European imperialism, minus France and its little dealings in certain post-colonial nations in Africa. But for general rule of thumb, the United States changed the way the world works.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something about that Africa one, but
you're gonna have to talk to the French with that, Bubba.
Well, the French are losing all their colonial territories.
The French aren't going to be of any help.
I mean, even then, but
one way or the other.
There's still you have the Belt and Road. The Chinese are doing is, trying to debt trap countries in Southeast Asia and Africa, so they basically stay within their fucking sphere of influence.
And how's that? Well, China's got a whole lot of problems coming up.
That's because quick. China needs resources.
Yes, but at the same time, we're gonna have a situation in the future. You know what I mean? But
I could forgive every crime that Europeans have committed against Africans if they gave us the entire Dutch population.
What?
King Leopold will pay for his crime. But that's he will pay. By God,
listen, Bubba. Africa's problem is not the Europeans.
It's
I
not.
mean, it
It's
definitely
not.
started.
Hold on.
That and
It's
Islam.
that fucking shitty geography. There's a reason why early man fucking migrated out of Africa. All right,
Until the coming of Islam,
Every reason that place is
consistently one of the most powerful nations considered by the Greeks, by the Persians, was a nation in Africa. Till the coming of Islam.
Host, you're fucked up. I want to say
I mean,
thank you for inviting me.
Me personally, right? At least right now, right? The religious violence,
Get your
right,
bitch ass up.
right? The introduction of Islam there, completely complete shit show. You have like Boko Haram running around. You have all these different groups of people that don't really like each other inside the same countries, right? You have
I love niggers.
All these other foreign powers trying to exploit these countries for the natural resources, So like they.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's trust me. I know just about everything that can be shit showed about Africa, but there is one.
If you're gonna be
thing,
edgy and racist, like be good at it.
right? But that
historically,
region,
Africa though hasn't
Africa's problem currently is,
they're not
I'd
like
say,
that,
corrupt leaders.
necessarily true in the way that you might think it is. Like, it didn't have like massive powers that covered the entire region, but Mali was fucking huge. Like, if you compare Mali to like all of West Africa today, it literally removes like 7 countries from the entire region, and that's their like real historical borders that are like substantiated by like all the other tribes in the area. So when you look at that like region in that France like controls like on a map, that essentially is the Mali Songhai area. All of that could be one country, and it would probably be the strongest country in Africa.
The French want that uranium. I'm telling you, man.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, they will never let that happen. It's really a bunch of bullshit that they kind of like expounded upon us, to the French particularly, because they are the reason why we even know so much about Africa, like in terms of like culture and like geography and whatnot, because they are the ones that
you have the Russians trying to
Wait.
Oh yeah, we love Russia.
Wait,
I fucking
everybody be
love
quiet.
Russia.
Chi-Chi, you have something edgy to say?
So I'm from Korea, right? And like same with China. Every time I go to Korea and talk to my like relatives, and same with China, deep down we're all just like, yeah, we're just Mongols, bruh. How true is that?
That's not very.
Everybody wants to be Mongol, huh?
I do. That's for sure.
Why not?
Not really. We just got
People
fucked
you
by
could
them,
use.
so we're just like, damn, how fucked did we get?
Do you?
We're all
Does,
part of that.
like literally,
bad.
but does Korea view like the Mongol occupation of Korea the same as it views Imperial Japan's occupation of Korea?
No, how we view it is we lasted longer than China, so we're like, fuck you, China.
Real.
That's just how it is. I mean, we hate the Japanese, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, anyways, guys, this was a fun little conversation.
Yes, it was. I would just like to say, part of me wants to think that, man, that guy was really brave for coming on somebody else's live and just getting stomped out. But honest to God, like, that wasn't bravery. It was just stupidity.
No, it's a cocaine.
Fellas, look, moral of the story is communists aren't real people.
Correct. Bug
Moral of
man.
the story is, this will be the last thing that I gotta say. Don't get your history from people on this app or any other app. Read a book.